I do want you to make more money, so this is how you're going to do it. And the first thing you're gonna have to do is make a subtle mindset change. I want you to stop thinking yourself as an employee, but more like a stock. Now, what are stocks? Stocks are shares of a company. I buy it at X price. Hopefully it rises to a higher price. I sell it and I make a profit. I want you to think of yourself like a stock. Now, whatever your pay rate is, that's what your stock price is. So let's say you're getting paid $18 an hour, but you want to get up to $30 an hour. How do I get from 18 to 30? Now, you have to think of it as a buyer. Your employer is the buyer of this stock. The stock that they received was $18 a share, which was your pay rate. Now, let's say you got in, you're at $18 an hour. From your best of your understanding, feel that you're doing $30 an hour worth of work. So how am I going to move from $18 an hour to $30 an hour? You go talk to the owner, you go talk to the boss, your manager, and you're like, yo, I'm not doing $18 worth of work. I'm doing $30, $35. I really feel like I need this raise. What they're gonna tell you is, you suck. Well, tough luck. That's the pay rate for your position. We appreciate everything you're doing well, but hey, guess what? Here's are some things I think you need to improve on. Really, we believe your pay rate is fair, so unfortunately, we're not going to increase it at this time. And again, you take this personally, or I take this personally, I get angry, but I have to think about this again, like, oh yeah, that guy Ludwig on that YouTube channel told me that I am not an employee, I am in a stock. So if my employer got me at 18, why would they go back and say, hey, let me pay more money for this stock? You don't profit off of stock by going back to the person you bought it from and said, you know what, I underpaid for this stock. Let me pay you more money. That doesn't work that way. You are as much of an investment as a business is. So you gotta think of it from their perspective. So how do I get more money? Now, well, let's think of ourselves like a stock again. Now, let's say your employer got you at 18, you're worth 32 or 40 or whatever. They're not gonna go back and pay more money because they got at 18, they gotta steal. Why would they pay more? But what happens in stocks all the time? So one guy bought it at 18, you're worth 30 now, 35, 40. Someone else comes in now and sees, hey, this stock is worth 40 and I bet I can get even more out of this stock than the previous person. So what do? They buy at a more expensive rate. And people do this every single day in the stock market. Why? Because even though they know they bought it at a more expensive price than the last guy, they believe they're going to make even more, so it doesn't even matter. So how does that equate to you as an employee? Well, this happens all the time in the job market too. It happens when we change jobs. So when I go from my old employer who got me at 18 and I'm like, hey, I'm doing way more work, I'm doing extra projects, I've made the business more profitable, I'm more efficient, I'm helping other people grow, I believe that I should be getting more money, but they're not willing to pay because they're a savvy investor and they have to be profitable. They have to keep the business in business, which means keeping your job, everybody else's job, making enough money for the owner to make it, worthwhile for them to invest their life savings and time and probably 80 to 100 hours a week of work. They have to make it worthwhile to them. So it's not personal against you. It's just they're looking out for their own interests the same way you're looking out for your own interests. So how do you look out for your own interests better? Well, we're gonna go to the next employer and say, hey, these are the skills that I have more experience, which means you don't have to train me and you don't have to waste money training me and also reduce the productivity of other people because they're stepping down and helping me train to get caught up to speed. But you're not gonna have to do that. You're gonna be able to walk in immediately, have me be effective, elevate your game, elevate the game of other people around me. I'm gonna bring new information in. I'm gonna help elevate the competitiveness of the business. This is why I'm gonna be worth more to you. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, employers do that. They will pay you more money at another company when they wouldn't have at your previous company. And again, it's not personal. It's not a personal attack. They don't hate you. They're not trying to get over on you, really. Again, it's like they have a business. They have to stay profitable. They have to do what's in their best interest. You got to do what's in your best interest. And sometimes that may mean going to another employer, bringing your skill set, your experience, all the extra knowledge that you've earned. Because if you're watching this channel, you work hard, you go above and beyond, you do the extra projects, you get the extra certificates, you learn more than everybody else. And that's why that next person is going to pay you more. That's one of the best ways to increase your income. Other than that, you'll get yearly raises. You're just hoping that it's going to be on par with inflation, which honestly, is it really a raise? You're just getting paid the same amount of money because everything else has just become more expensive. So you're not necessarily making more. So how do you really make more? More often than not, you're going to have to jump from one company to another. Now, let's say you actually really like your job. You really like your manager, you really like your coworkers, you like the culture at your company, you like, how much they go out of their way to take care of you and make you feel appreciated, and you really don't actually want to leave, but you really are considering it because of the pay. Then the best thing for you to do is to actually go out and get another job. Now, I know this sounds counterintuitive, but start interviewing, start applying to other places at similar positions and verify whether or not that you're right. Can you actually get more money? Because if you're able to go to another position or to another company and get more money for the same position, this is evidence that you are being underpaid. Now, you can use that offer from the other company to come to your company and say, hey, I really like you here. I love working with you guys. I love the management. I love the culture. I love everything about this company. The only thing that's really a struggle for me is the pay. I really believe I'm being underpaid based on my skills, based on my experience, based on what I bring to the table. I've even verified this because I've talked to other companies and they've made me an offer at a higher rate. Now, again, it's not my desire to want to leave, but I have to strongly consider it if the pay is going to be better elsewhere. Now, this is going to be a fairly risky move, right? You're saying, hey, I'm ready to walk out the door. Are you willing to do anything about this? Now, more often than not, for someone who's valuing you, the company that values you, and just considering the fact that it usually often is a lot cheaper to retain and pay an employee a little bit more than to try to rehire someone new who has to be trained, who has to be taught a lot of things. And again, they're reducing their productivity is low. They're reducing the productivity of other people who are training them. They want to avoid this. So more likely than not, they might not match the offer exactly. Sometimes they will, but sometimes more than not, they're gonna come in a little bit under what the other company offered. And that's a viable way on how to maybe increase your pay or challenge the company on why your pay should be increased while keeping a job that you actually love. Because I know for this, firsthand, I've had various jobs in various industries, and not every company to work for is great. Not every manager to work for is great. If you have a job that you really enjoy the culture and maybe the pay is not that great, that may be a way to ask or to find a way to increase that income. Now, the last thing I want you to consider is that the reason why you're not getting paid what you want is that the value of your position is just not worth that much money. And I want you to make a very clear distinction in what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're not worth that much money. I'm saying that your position is just not worth that much money. Now, let's say you're making $20 an hour. You believe that you're underpaid. You're going above and beyond. You're doing more than what's expected. And you tell your company this, your manager, supervisor, HR, and they're just not willing to pay you more money. It may, in fact, just be that your position is just not worth that much more money. To give you an analogy, let's compare a surgeon and a waitress. No one is going to argue that the waitress should be making more money than the surgeon. Why? Because we know that the surgeon went through hell to get those skills. 8 years of schooling, residency, specialty training. There's a reason why they get paid more, because less people have those skills. It's harder to get those skills, and that's why they get paid more money. Now, it may just be easier for you to go out and get a set of skills or try to get into a new position that pays more than it is to try to make more money in your current position. Now, what do I mean by that? So let's say, again, you're working a job, you're getting paid $20 an hour, you've done all the things that I've talked about on how to increase your pay, and they didn't work. I encourage you to go out into the job market, apply to other jobs, see how much money you can be making at very similar positions. And if you can't get a job at another company where you have more, again, you have the experience, you have the skills, you're going above and beyond, and you're still not getting more money at those other companies than you are at your current, it's probably because your position is just not worth that much money. It is too costly to the company to try to stay profitable, and that's why they're just not going to pay you more. So it might be the better battle to just reassess your skill set, the position that you're working in, the kind of job that you're attaining, and just say, hey, maybe I just can't make as much money as I want to in this position. It doesn't mean that I can't make that money at all. It just may mean that I have to get schooling, I have to get a different education, I have to get a different skill set, need different experience to make me qualified for another job, another position that pays more money. And it is definitely definitely easier said than done, but it's more often than not the better route to go, rather than to try to fight to get a significant raise, where even if you got that significant raise, that might put you at 10, 15, 20, 50% more than what everybody else is making in that job. And honestly, there might be a lot of people who would be willing to work just as hard as you at that same rate, or maybe even lower. And that's just why, for a company that, again, has to stay profitable, to stay in business, to keep serving its customers, to keep your job there, to keep everybody else's job there, they have to stay profitable, so they just can't pay you that much money. And that's it, guys. That's pretty much it as far as different things that I've learned over time through my career, through my jobs, my experience, that are effective ways to increase your pay. And again, that mindset change that I talked about earlier is very important, because we take our companies or the businesses that we work for not paying us a certain amount way too personal. They just have things that they're looking at, and staying profitable and staying in business, and you as an employee have to do what you have to do to get the money that you need to live the kind of life that you want. Talk to you later, guys. Peace.